Charlemagne. The Pampers Index.
The Pampers
Europe's
Index.
single market still needs changing.
Europe's single market still needs changing.
The parents of a screaming newborn baby typically have no time to spare.
Parents of a screaming newborn baby typically have no time to spare.
If they live in Europe, they should spend a few minutes shopping around for nappies.
But if they live in Europe, they should spend a few minutes shopping around for nappies.
3 enormous boxes of Pampers come to €168. That's $198 on Amazon Spanish. €68. 3 enormous boxes of Pampers come to €168.
3 enormous boxes of Pampers come to €168.
That's $198
That's $198 on Amazon Spanish website.
By contrast, the same
3 enormous boxes of Pampers come to €168. That's $198 on Amazon Spanish website.
order from Amazon's British website in Spanish website. By contrast, the same order from Amazon's British website
By contrast, the same order from Amazon's British website
costs only €74.
costs only €74. By contrast, the same order from Amazon's British website costs only €74.
After an exorbitant delivery fee is added, the saving is still €42.
Even after an exorbitant delivery fee is added, the saving is still €42.
If sleep-deprived parents are too groggy to work out how much they could save in a year,
If sleep-deprived parents are too groggy to work out how much they could save in a year,
they could pep themselves up with a new copy machine. If sleep-deprived parents are too groggy to work out how much they could save in a year, they could pep themselves up with a new copy machine.
The swankiest Nespresso model will set them back €460
on Amazon French website.
on Amazon French website.
It can be snapped up for €301 on the German version.
And can be snapped up
It can be snapped up for €301 on the German version.
and can be snapped up for €301 on the German version. The swankiest Nespresso model could
set them back 460 copy machine. The swankiest Nespresso model will set them back
the swankiest Nespresso model will set them back €460 on Amazon's French website and can be snapped up for €301 on the German version.
€460 on Amazon's French website. It can be snapped up for €301 on the German version. They could then boast about their canny shopping on Samsung's newest phone.
They can then boast about their canny shopping on Samsung's newest phones.
They could then boast about their canny shopping on Samsung's newest phone, which varies in price by up to €300.
Which varies up to
Samsung's newest phone, which varies in price by up to
which varies in price by up to €300,
depending on which domain is used.
They could then boast about their canny shopping on Samsung's newest phone, which varies in price by up to €300, depending on which domain is used.
The EU may have a single market, but its products do not have single prices.
The EU may have a single market, but its products do not have single prices.
In an integrated market, prices are supposed to come together over time.
Yet this process has stalled in the EU.
Prices for the exactly same products still diverge.
Prices for the exactly same products still diverge,
Often starkly and even among rich countries.
and even among rich countries.
This process has stalled in the EU. Prices for exactly the same products still diverge, often starkly and even among rich countries.
Prices for exactly the same products often still diverge, often starkly, and even among rich countries.
It is a long-term trend.
It is a long-term trend.
Prices stopped moving together in 2008.
Prices stopped moving together in 2008.
Big steps of integration, such as the introduction of the euro,
Big steps of integration, such as the introduction of the euro,
which drew them closer together, are now rare.
which drew them close together, are now rare. Big steps of intervention.
Was the introduction moving together in 2008. Big steps of integration,
Big steps of integration, such as the introduction of the euro,
which drew them closer together,
big steps of intervention, such as the introduction of the euro, which drew them close together, are now rare.
Wages in Eastern Europe are not growing as rapidly as they were.
Wages in Eastern Europe are not growing as rapidly as they were.
Services which are often hard to trade across borders
Services which are often hard to trade across borders
make up a greater proportion of the EU economy.
Make up a great proportion of the EU economy. Services which are often hard to trade across borders make up a great proportion of the EU economy.
Make up a greater proportion of the EU economy. Mollycoddle companies still dominate some industries.
Mollycoddle companies still dominate some industries.
It is common to see someone stocking up on painkillers in the Netherlands.
It is common to see someone stocking up on painkillers in the Netherlands,
where they can be bought in any supermarket.
Before hopping on a train to Belgium.
Where pharmacies enjoy a monopoly and a markup.
Where pharmacists enjoy a monopoly and a markup. It is common to see someone stocking up on painkillers in the Netherlands before hopping on where they can be bought in any supermarket before hopping on a train to Belgium, where pharmacists enjoy a monopoly and a markup.
Some price differences are inevitable.
A store in central Paris will charge more for the same goods
than one
in a hypermarket on the edge of a medium-sized town. A store in central Paris will charge more for the same goods than one in a hypermarket on the edge of a medium-sized town. Sometimes price divergence is necessary for sometimes price divergence is necessary in a block that contains both Germany.
GDP per head of 39,130 euros.
GDP per head of 39,130 euros.
And Bulgaria,
that's 8,337 euros.
And given that
sometimes price divergence is necessary in a block that contains both Germany, GDP per head of 39,130 euros, and Bulgaria, that's That's 8,237 euros.
Retail is still dominated by brick and mortar stores on their web. And given that retail is still dominated by brick and mortar stores
And given that retail is still dominated by brick and mortar stores
and their websites,
and their websites,
markets remain stubbornly national even online.
And given that retail is still dominated by brick and mortar stores and their websites, markets remain
The upshot in their websites,
markets remain stubbornly national even online.
stubbornly national even online. The upshot? One study showed that online prices varied by 20%.
The upshot, one study showed that online prices varied by up to 20%
For items like electronics,
for items like electronics
and up to 40% for clothing between EU countries.
and up to 40% for clothing between EU countries.
And up to 40% for clothing between EU countries.
For clothing.
Electronic studies showed that online prices varied by 20% for items like electronics, and up to online prices varied by 20% for items like electronics, and up to 40% for clothing between EU countries.
The upshot, one study showed that online prices varied by 20% for items like electronics and up to 40% for clothing between EU countries.
Yet for nappies, a tradable good which can be bought online anywhere in Europe.
But for that,
Yet for nappies, a tradable good which can be bought online anywhere in Europe.
yet for nappies, a tradable good which can be bought online anywhere in Europe.
Yet for nappies, a tradable good which can be bought online anywhere in Europe. The persistence of big price gaps is especially odd.
The persistence of big
Everywhere in Europe, the persistence of big price gaps is especially odd.
the persistence of big price gaps is especially odd.
Prices per nappy range from 11 cents to
Prices for nappy is arranged from 11 cents.
61 cents of a euro. Prices per nappy range from 11 big price gaps is especially odd. Prices per nappy
Prices for nappy
range from 11 cents to 61 cents of a euro
range from 11 cents to 61 cents of a euro
within the bloc,
within the bloc,
according to one survey.
according to one survey.
The Economist uses the price of a Big Mac
The Economist uses the price of a Big Mac
to compare currencies around the world.
to compare currencies around the world.
Something similar could work with a single market.
Something similar could work with a single market.
Call it the Pampers Index,
Call it the Pampers Index,
a rough measure that shows which EU citizens are paying over the odds.
a rough measure that shows which EU citizens are paying over the odds.
Arbitraging these differences away is not simple.
Borders matter in
Borders matter in trade,
trade,
and they still exist in the EU.
Cross a state border in America,
Not much changes for most businesses.
and not much changes for most businesses.
Cross a border in the EU and they face a new legal regime.
Cross a border in the EU and they face a new legal regime
In a foreign language.
with a different consumer culture. A new legal regime in a foreign language with a different consumer culture.
With a different consumer culture.
Nor is it an easy process for consumers.
It is one thing to fire up Google Translate to read a news article. It is one thing to fire up Google Translate to read a news article.
Quite another to double check what the Kasagea means.
In the middle of a read a news article. Quite another to double check what Kasagea means in the middle of a €1,000 purchase. Means in the middle of a €1,000 purchase.
America is far more integrated, say EU officials.
America is far more integrated, say EU officials.
As a result, big online retailers like Amazon
offer a shopper in Alabama
the
same price as one in California.
the same price as one in California.
Delivery charges within the EU
Delivery charges within the EU
are often steep,
are often steep,
as any discriminating Spanish parent will soon find.
as any discriminating Spanish parent will soon find.
Getting products from where they are cheap to where they are expensive
Getting Getting products from where they are cheap to where they are expensive
is often painfully slow
is often painfully slow
or prohibitively costly,
particularly if they are bulky like nappies.
It is worse in small countries.
It is worse in small countries.
Your correspondent once logged the entire discography of the Rolling Stones
Your correspondent once logged the entire discography of the Rolling Stones
on vinyl from London to Brussels,
on vinyl from London to Brussels,
so that a friend from a Baltic state could avoid a €110 charge.
so that a friend from a Baltic state can avoid could
So that a friend from a Baltic state could avoid €110 charge.
so that a friend from a Baltic state could avoid a €110 charge.
Nor is there much motivation for suppliers
Nor is there much motivation for suppliers
to fix the problem.
Sellers are enthusiastic
Sellers are unenthusiastic about products.
from low price markets
Leaking into high price ones.
The EU has taken some action.
It is now illegal for websites to block consumers
From other countries without good reason.
This came after EU officials picked a fight with Disney.
When it emerged that Disneyland Paris
Stopped customers outside France
from getting the cheapest deals,
and the union has created a database
and the union has created a database of delivery company charges, hoping sellers will use it to drive prices down. Such interventions seem to be having an effect.
In 2010, barely 1 in 10 EU citizens bought something
In 2010, bought something from a website
in a different country.
In 2018, 28% did. But the union could do more.
Indeed, rather than making it easier for lorries to zip across borders,
The EU recently tightened these rules
to placate West European countries
which complained that national labor rules were being undercut.
Eastern European countries cried protectionism.
Western During a crisis, concerns about lopsided prices
can seem petty.
can seem petty.
The EU is suffering the deepest recession in its history.
The EU is suffering the deepest recession in its history.
The pandemic has revealed major flaws in its structure.
The pandemic has revealed major
Its history. The pandemic has revealed major flaws in its structure,
the pandemic has revealed major flaws in its structure,
and fixing them takes priority.
and fixing them takes priority.
But the EU has always been a mix of big things:
But the EU has always been a mix of big things,
continental peace,
continental peace,
and small things, cheap flights.
and small things, cheap flights.
Lately, the Union's geopolitical ambitions
Lately, the Union's geopolitical ambitions
seem to take up more of its leaders' time
seem to take up more of its leaders' time
than the mundane business of cross-border trade.
than the mundane business of cross-border trade.
The single market should not become a forgotten child
The single market should not become a forgotten child
of European integration.
of European integration. Sometimes pricey pampers are as important as high politics.
Sometimes pricey pampers are as important as high politics.
Consumers have to do their bit too.
Consumers have to do their bit too.
The EU is sometimes criticized for being a top-down institution.
The EU is sometimes criticized for being a top-down institution.
The EU is sometimes criticized for being a top-down institution, confusing voters with grand projects
They do not necessarily want.
Change can come from other directions.
Change can come from other directions.
Each country has its own version of the booze cruise.
Each country has its own version of booze cruise.
From other directions. Each country has its own version of the booze cruise.
Each country has its own version of the booze cruise.
A British term for piling into France.
A British term for piling into France to buy cheap wine.
Luxembourgers head to German supermarkets.
Luxembourgers head to German supermarkets for better prices. Swedes nip over to Norway to stock up on cheap nappies. Doing so online is much easier. Yet most people still do not bother. Online arbitrage could become an unlikely engine of European integration. But it would be up to citizens. As with nappies, some things must start at the bottom.